Hello, welcome back to my channel. We are on the 28th of October. Yes, the end of the month for all intents and purposes. And we have one more TBR for October. Because Fabelin Act 5 dropped today. We have one more act, one more book plus side quests. I've not been doing all the side quests. If it was earlier in the year, there were several where I really did make sure to check off all the quests for whatever the readathon was. This is not one of those events. Nonetheless, our team is not doing so badly. And I've finished at least a couple books for each leg. I've finished other books as well, just not books that fit prompts necessarily, since I'm limiting myself to certain genres and not acquiring more books regularly throughout the month. I've just been reading what I'm reading, and if they fit prompts, that's great. And I do try and pick books at the beginning of each act that fit the prompts to put into my TBR stack, so that there's a good chance that I check off prompts. But I'm reading series, and I'd rather finish the series. So, sometimes I just can't check books off for things. There have been quite a few the last week that just don't count for anything. So, that said, we have 3 days, less than 3 days. 30, 31. Yeah, 3 days. About 3 days. There is also Halloween. I'll show you my Halloween books first. Because Halloween evening, I'm going to be reading something that's not October TBR-ish. I have Wicked. I finished the rest of this series, but I've never read the first book. Because I couldn't find it when I finished the rest of them, so I just didn't read it. Because I know what happens. Because it's a retelling of a story we all know very well. Yeah. So, I'm going to read Wicked for Halloween so I can finish it. It's the closest thing I have to sprayed edges as well. It is sprayed edges. It's just the old school version from before everybody got so fancy with their expensive books. So this one's fancy because the edges match the cover. Yeah. I want to get this finished so it can go away. The other Halloween book that I'm reading is one I got from the latest bag of books sale from the library store. It is First Thrills, edited by Lee Child. This one is high-octane stories from the hottest thriller authors. So, thrills. Lots of them dark. So those two will be for Halloween. The second book actually could work for October because thrillers are within my range. But it's still not quite the same as the feel of everything else, the vibe of the rest of the books I've been reading. So anyway, for Act 5, we have the main prompt. And the main prompt, we need one of 3 options. I'm not going to list off all the options because I'm not giving away all the information. It's a fun thing about these competitive readathons. You're not supposed to give everything away. At this point, if you're on the Discord, you already should know what the prompts are. But in any case, I have a book for it. Mary DeHeim, The Alpine Yeoman, which I've already started. It's pretty good. Although it's starting a little slow, I still don't really know what category of crime we're getting into. And I did read Hocus Crocus by the same author, I think from the same series. But I'm not reading them in any particular sequence, so I don't really know if I know these people or not. So I should probably look at some point and see if they're actually in the same series, or if I'm diving into the middle of yet another series. This is for that Reading the D's at the library project. So it was just the first 2 books in the D's. And it was the only Daheim books that were at our branch. So these are what it was. And we'll find out if I'm going to understand this book or not. If I get to a page 50 and I'm still lost, where it's really obvious that I'm missing too much of the series, I do have other options that meet the same prompt as this one. So I will possibly use the Lola Quartet for the substitute if I decide the Daheim book is just not going to work for reading it in time to finish this. Both are library books. Both would be nice to be done so they can go back. I also have one also from the library that would work for a different prompt that also would be the Act 5 main prompts, just a different choice. So if I decide to depart from crime and murder mysteries, this one is one of the few exceptions that I can read this month. It's another D. So Ivan Doig, Dancing at the Rascal Fair. So those are my options for Act 5. The side quests, I'll pull up the side quests here. I'm going to make sure that I have books for each of the side quest prompts on hand. I probably won't finish all of them between now and the end of the 31st, since I'm also doing those 2 Halloween books. But you never know. I finished 7 books in 24 hours this weekend, so I'm willing to accept the challenge and at least try. A book with books, S in parentheses, could be a book on the cover. Apothecary Rose. The dude in the picture is in fact reading a book. He may have been reading it for a while because he looks a little skeletal, but he's been reading a book. One of those where it's just taking forever. When is this book going to end? We know the feeling. It's an Owen Archer mystery. I've never read this series. I have no idea how much information I'm going to feel like I'm missing. But that's part of what I like about, trying out just a random book in a series. Because I do like being able to say whether reading them out of order matters. If you only ever read them in order, you don't know how lost you would be if you'd started out of order. And some series, it really doesn't matter. So we'll find out if Apothecary Rose is one of those. It's the same philosophy I used for reading mystery arcs where I haven't read the series yet. I want to know if I found this book in a random bookshop and I needed something to read, would it have been a terrible decision to just go with whichever one is currently available? That is a serious question, because if you're traveling and a book catches your eye, and that's an author that you can't read book 6 if you haven't read the first 5 books, it's nice to know that. Yeah. So anyway, that'll be my book with a book on the cover. Book with Bones, Soul, or Spirit on the cover. I still did not grab the one I was thinking of. Of course I didn't, because even though this is the second time filming this, why would I plan ahead? That would be just silly. So I have another Kathy Reichs book that I may have read before, but it's been a long time. It would have been one of the first Kathy Reichs books I read. And that's Bare Bones, which I have in my room. I should have brought it out here. It's in a different stack. I've started putting away all my October books already. It's in that stack. But that'll be my choice for a book with bone in the title. Book with a number in the title Conveniently enough, one of the books that I didn't finish during Dewey's Readathon is the 31st of February. So this will be my choice for that one. A book with the main character that is returning somewhere. The book I am currently finishing will work for that. The China Governess is about a young man who is returning to where he came from and finding out his roots, and there's bodies involved, and yeah. So this one works for that. And will probably be the first one I actually finish for this segment of prompts, because I'm almost done with that one. But I started it this morning, so I actually started it on the same day as the prompts dropped. And actually for the side quests, I think they don't have to have been started during the act anyway. Not sure they have to be for the other ones either. They have to be read this month, for sure. A book with a political plot line. I've waffled on this one a lot, but I think I'm leaning towards this one because page numbers are not part of the submission form for the side quests. So short is not a problem. It's long enough to count. And I'm pretty sure all of the Ambler books I've read so far have been political plots. They're kind of spy thrillers with, state-sponsored spies. Yeah. So I think this will work. Yes, Eric Ambler's political sophistication, memorable characters, and masterful storytelling have earned him international praise. So I think this is a safe bet. It's probably got something political going on. And bodies, usually. Book with an ensemble cast. I need to get back to this series anyway. So I'm going back to number 1 Ladies Detective Agency, The Good Husband of Zebra Drive. This is book 8. Alexander McCall Smith is the author on these. And I have lots. My sister really likes them. I really like some of his other series. I like this one too. My favorite of his series, though, is actually not mysteries. It's the 44 Scotland Street. They're just kind of cute drama, general fiction. But they're really fun. And that's the ones with Bertie, the poor little boy whose mother is very interested in his upbringing. Yeah. So, I haven't read this series in a while, but I've read a lot of Alexander McCall Smith in the last couple of years. So, need to get back to the series. The rest of this series is stacking up. So, pretty soon I'm going to need to read them just to clear a shelf, because they're taking up a lot of room. A book with a bookshelf or trunk or chest on the cover. Do I have a book that actually has a shelf or trunk or chest on the cover that I've already started? Oh, that one may be the hard one. That may be the hard one. You'll find out if I find a book with that on the cover in my wrap-up video at the end of the month, because I'm pretty sure I have one somewhere, but I'm going to have to go through all my books and look at the covers, preferably the short paperbacks, because we don't have that much time. But we'll see what I find for that one. And then for a book with a necromancer or undead protagonist, I think this one works, but I'm not sure, because I haven't gotten far enough into it to know. So my fallback, if this turns out not to work for that, this one will then just be a Halloween read, will be the Dan Shambles series. I don't remember which book I left off on, but I know that Kevin J. Anderson has been re-releasing his books. Like, he actually started his own publishing company so that he could have control of all his books, because they kept going out of print and it was a hassle to keep them being reprinted, and he didn't have a lot of control over that end of the bookmaking process. So he actually started a whole publishing company for his books, and then for other people that also wanted to be more involved in the whole publishing process. So not quite the same as self-publishing, but still more self-publishing-esque than big publisher experience. I read all about it on his website. Anyway. Yeah, so the Dan Shambles series, Dan Shambles is actually a zombie. His girlfriend is a ghost. They live in a special quarter. It reminded me of the, now that I want to talk about it, it's not Aronovich. There was a trilogy in London that I read earlier this year that also has kind of a supernatural quarter, and it has gods and ghosts and werewolves and vampires and everything. I remembered as soon as I'm not trying to. Yeah, anyway, it's one of those where it's in our real life, real world, except something has happened and now all these supernatural creatures are around. And Dan was a PI before he got shot, and then when he crawled up out of his grave, he went back to being a PI. He's just a zombie now. So, yeah. So that one would be something that I'll have to get off of Libby. I don't think I've used up all of my checkouts yet on Libby for this month. So that would be the limitation. And that'll be an audiobook because I don't have any of the Dan Shambles in print. That's one that I'll be watching for at Little For Your Libraries and, the Bookshed and, the bag of book sales and stuff. Because I've read a lot of them, but it wouldn't be bad to have the series. Those are fun. Anyway, so that's probably going to be my TBR for the rest of the month. I don't know yet which of the Act 5 main prompt books I'm going to end up selecting. So here's these. And I'm torn on logging any of the Allinghams as a buddy read. Because in the comments, in the reading sprints on YouTube, several times in the last week, while I've been reading Allingham, people have said, "Oh, I'm reading that series." And I got started reading this series because I pulled them out because Leandra was talking about it, that she needs to read it. She needs to read the 5 books she got from the series, which it turns out I have. And in finding out whether I had those 5 books, it turns I have the whole series. And then I started reading them, and now I'm on book 16. So eventually she will get to those 5 books. But I don't think I'm going to count that as a buddy read. It's kind of on the fringes of buddy read, but I got to them before she's even scheduled them in her reading. So, yeah, it would be nice for points, but it's not like my team is hurting, so I don't know. I think this month I'm not going to have a particular buddy read. There's also another book that she was talking about in the same video that I also have. It's just totally random. Not an author I'd ever heard of. I just happen to have it. Just from a large unhaul that a friend gave me of murder mysteries, which is why I have so many this month. Just one of them happened to be that book. I'm like, that looks familiar. But since she's not gotten to it this month, I didn't even include that one in the TBR because it doesn't fit any other particular prompts. So, yeah. Tempting, but no. So, I'm still really bad at buddy reading, by the way. When it is supposed to be buddy reading, I don't read it on time. Or I read it all in one day. And if it's not something that really sticks with me, I'm like, I don't know what to say about it. It was a book. I don't want to spoil it because I haven't finished it yet. Yeah, so all those classes, like literature classes from college where you read the book and you talk about it, that's a skill that apparently I am getting really bad at. So I need to do some buddy reads. Maybe next year, like actual buddy reads where you actually talk about the book with the people that are reading the book. Like in tandem with them while they're reading the book. But yeah, maybe not quite yet. So anyway, that is my plan for the rest of the month. Here's the stack. Yay. Plus my Halloween books, we'll add them onto the stack. Especially since I think that Simon Green might end up being a Halloween book. So, the stack. And we'll see at the end of the month what I'll have actually finished. I will probably hold off recording the wrap up until the 1st. So like Friday. So I'll probably do the TBR for November stack that's right here behind me. There's 25 books in this stack because it's one for each square in a 5x5 bingo board. So that'll be fun. They're all nonfiction. I have way too many nonfiction. So this is a small subset. If I run out, there are more. And I'm doing the NetGalley November. So I also will be doing NetGalley ARCs as ebooks. My numbers will probably be insane for November. But that's okay. It'll be fun. So hopefully you guys are having a great reading month so far. Let me know if you've read any of the books I've talked about in this surprisingly rambly video. And yeah, we'll see how the Fabelin adventure goes for the rest of the month. So far, so good. Bye, guys!